Okay, Michael Mann, would you please come up on stage and join me for a second?
It's all your fault. Thank you.
It is my fault. Michael, on behalf of the DEA Educational Foundation and all the men and women of the Drug Enforcement Administration, current and past, I want to present this Lifetime Achievement Award Eagle to you, which weighs a ton. And the printing is too small for me to read, so I'm going to read it off a printed piece of paper. Lifetime Achievement Award presented to Michael Mann for your years of support to the Drug Enforcement Administration and the impact your storytelling and filmmaking had on the consciousness of viewers around the world. Congratulations, Michael. Thank you. I'm not going to ask you to hold. I'll take it. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, man. Seriously. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the history of the time I spent with a lot of people in this room. Some people who aren't in this room, and there were many incredible, extraordinary adventures in incredible, extraordinary places, and people being very forthright and opening themselves up and exposing their innermost feelings about what they were doing and why they were doing it, and complete with all the normal contradictions that all of us as human beings have, and that was inspiration to pursue character and events and stories beyond two-dimensional dramatic cliches, and to try and dimensionalize lives of some of the characters that were in all of these stories. I particularly want to thank Bill Alden, who I've known for a long time, and Tony Williams for the beautiful things he said. And Camarena started when I read Elaine Shannon's book, Desperados. And I met some of the people involved: Jack Lawn, Mika Camarena, Jaime Kuykendall, Jack Taylor, Don Ferrone, John Marcello, Matty Mayer, Carla Baccia, and others. And like anybody else, I was profoundly moved and motivated by his abduction and murder and the DEA's struggle to bring everyone to account. By the late 70s, early 80s, I had acquired a fair layman's understanding of drug trafficking, the multiplication of value from the farm to the arm, the allure of easy money and the very strong appeal, and the role drug trafficking profits can play in the dark regions of global politics, as first laid out in McCoy's book, The Politics of Heroin in Southeast Asia. I had been up in northern Thailand in the early 80s with Richie LaMagna, and in the 90s with Don Ferrone, and later crossed border in the Shan Mountains with the legendary Bill Young. Through Don, I received a real insight and marveled at the complexity of those DEA operations pulled off in very tenuous places with questionable allies against Kun Sa and the Shan United Army, when that region produced about 70% of the world's opium supply. On Camarena and subsequent projects, I met incredibly bright, proficient people. There was the late Bill Moakler, whose analytical prowess produced the blueprint, like an X-ray, of Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel's operational structure of how they moved money and how they organized themselves, which is what made them vulnerable to the DEA, for the DEA to be able to attack and take them down. There was Jaime Kuykendall and everyone on Operation Leyenda, and their unrelenting, extraordinarily aggressive pursuit of Camarena's killers, where the DEA basically became a homicide bureau with one victim, and the gloves really came off. It destabilized trafficking organizations in Mexico for a significant amount of time. And the implacable persistence of my friend Don Ferrone pushing operations in Bolivia, Thailand, the Golden Triangle, and on the Mexican border. I've encountered administrators with the sterling integrity of Jack Lawn, the visionary leadership of Rob Bonner, and the dedication, toughness, and compassion of Michelle Leonhardt, all three of whom are here right now. And I've come to know the sacrifices of Camarena and his family, of other effective agents, which is why they were targeted, like Mike Powers, whose wife was killed in Chiang Mai. I've worked with DEA's Special Operations Division, SOD, in the post-9/11 world where drug trafficking networks, money laundering networks, arms trafficking networks, and terrorist networks very often converge, like the Taliban financing itself with Afghani production of 90% of the world's opium. SOD, the beating heart at the core of DEA, was formed by Derek Maltz with Lou Million and Wim Brown. They shunned the limelights. This group and the 960 group's accomplishments are astonishing, from taking down Mann al-Qassar, who dates as far back as Achille Lauro and Black September, through Victor Boots to the Afghani heroin kingpin Haji Juma Khan. Now in our complex, interconnected world is a world filled with disruption, with innovation, with rapid scalability, and the dark web. There are whole new kinds of lethal trafficking and transnational threats. This room is filled with men and women who have the skill sets, they have the boldness to pull off operations that are incredible anywhere, including the most dangerous and ungovernable places on the planet. So you are here to thank me, which I appreciate, but I want to thank you. It's always a revelation when I've worked with you, and it's an honor to know you. So thanks very much. Thank you.